As the likelihood of Narendra Modi becoming the next Prime Minister of India grows, so too is apprehension amongst India's minority communities, its artists and its intellectuals. With me to tell me how he views the prospect of a Narendra Modi Prime Ministership, as well as the rise of the BJP and the apparent decline of Congress, is one of India's best-known lyricists, himself a Rajya Sabha MP, Javed Akhtar. Javed Akhtar, if the polls are correct, Narendra Modi could be Prime Minister by the end of next week. As a Muslim, as a poet, as an MP, how do you view that prospect?
This is what democracy is all about. Different kind of points of view will prevail, different kind of people will come in power at different points of time, and that is how democracy works. I mean, let's not be so wary about things. I mean, there was a time when people were so skeptical and cynical that if BJP comes into power, what will happen? They were in power once for 1 year and once for a full term. What happened? Life continued. And
are you saying the same will be the case with Mr. Modi, that the apprehensions people have, and they are genuine apprehensions, they are serious apprehensions, will actually, when he comes to power, be proven to be false?
You see, when people with different political or social points of view come, obviously something happens. There are certain differences, certain life or society or the country takes a slightly different direction. But I don't think it is going to be such a huge difference that you should be that worried about. Yes, if you people who are on the left of the center, people who believe that society should be more liberal, more secular, they'll be slightly uncomfortable, and rightly so. But I think that's not the end of the world.
I'm intrigued by your answer because it's much more reassuring, much more calm and much more sanguine than others who come from the artist community, who come from the intellectual community, who come from minorities. They feel a real sense of apprehension and concern. Are you suggesting that perhaps they're at this moment overreacting, that they're frightening themselves and that they need
The overreaction is from both the sides. As a matter of the right-wingers, the people who want to see India a Hindu Rashtra, are also going to be disappointed. So, because ultimately power has its own restraints, power has its own discipline. One thing is for sure, that democracy and certain way of life has taken roots in our soil. You can make little change, minor changes. India will never accept, it's not beyond a possibility for any individual to change the whole ethos of this country.
Which of the two are you saying? That power will make Mr. Modi sober and restrain him, or that Mr. Modi is much more balanced and much more sober than people have given him credit for?
I don't know him personally, I have never met him in my life. Whatever I know of him, I know through television or newspapers. But I know about power. I have seen people coming into power and going out of it, and I always believe that power ultimately sobers you down, whether you are a right-winger or a left-winger. But when you come in power, you realize that it is not your ideology, it is not your conviction about certain community or certain group or certain economics. You have to compromise with the structures.
So Javed Akhtar is not apprehensive of Narendra Modi as Prime Minister?
No.
At all?
I mean, I'm not going to celebrate if it happens, that's for sure. I won't open a champagne bottle. But I have confidence in Indian society, our system, our democracy, our judiciary. So I don't feel helpless if anybody becomes the Prime Minister.
Let's focus on the nature of the campaign that Mr. Modi has fought up till now to try and answer the question, what sort of Prime Minister is he likely to be? Until the Faizabad campaign of yesterday, when he spoke with images of Lord Ram in the background, Mr. Modi had not really raised the Ram temple issue or related issues. Does that reassure you, or do you believe that what happened at Faizabad yesterday is an ominous sign that points towards a worrying future?
Mr. Modi has made many secular statements also. I have taken them with a pinch of salt. Now when he makes a communal statement, I take that too with a pinch of salt.
You mean this is just strategy and tactics?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, in other words, Mr. Modi is using both the secular comments he makes, when he makes them, as well as the Ram Mandir backdrop to win votes and nothing more.
Are you suggesting, can you by any stretch of imagination believe the moment Mr. Modi, if with a capital I and a capital F, if he becomes the Prime Minister, he will see to it that Ram Mandir is made? He won't do it. Mr. Advani did not do it. Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee did not do it. This is just a stepping stone. That's about all.
Many of his supporters not only believe, they're convinced he'll do it.
They are in for a disappointment.
Amit Shah talks about it, and he's his closest lieutenant in UP. He talks about it.
Let him do that. And as a matter of fact, who knows? Maybe Amit Shah really believes that he'll do it.
But you're saying something very important. You're saying these are the tactics and strategies politicians use. Don't take them more seriously than that. Please understand,
I am not discussing Mr. Modi. I am discussing politicians. If a politician is to be genuinely and all the time, at any cost communal, you need commitment. You need certain sincerity, maybe misplaced sincerity. Politicians are incapable of that.
Including Narendra Modi.
Again, you are making... Why should I talk about one person? Let's keep the discussion slightly...
Except that Mr. Modi is likely to be Prime Minister, others aren't.
Yeah?
Let me come to this.
Yeah.
Many people believe that the BJP this time around has made a concerted, deliberate effort to reach out to minorities, to reach out in particular to Indian Muslims. It began with Rajnath Singh, the party president, in February when he said, कहीं यदि हम लोगों के पार्ट पर कोई भी गलती और चूक हुई होगी, तो मैं आपको यकीन दिलाता हूं, हम शीश झुकाकर अपना सिर झुकाकर क्षमा मांग लेंगे. How do you respond to that apology?
It's neither here nor there. It's not important. These are words. Don't bother about them.
Is it sincere?
No. These are words.
Said for electoral effect?
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, not even convincing. Not very effective also.
Is this pulling the wool over the eyes?
Nobody is fooled by all these things. Everybody understands these are election rhetorics, and I mean they make different kind of statements. Who take them seriously?
For many people, 2002, not just Muslims, for many Indians, 2002 is a sort of turning point. It's an obstacle that they have to overcome before they can accept Mr. Modi. Now, I want to ask how you view 2002. Do you see it as an issue that Mr. Modi needs to address but which he continually refuses to face up to? Or do you believe that after giving Gujarat 12 years of communal peace, 2002 has receded into the background?
How has he achieved this peace? By developing good relations, by giving tremendous security to the affected minorities, by assuring them they have equal opportunity, or people are intimidated, people are so terrorized. As far as I know, I may be wrong, I don't live in Gujarat. Gujarat is an extremely segregated society. I mean, it is impossible for a Muslim to get accommodation, a house in many of the decent localities. They are living in slums, they are living in ghettos. And across the ghetto, on the other side of the road, there is another colony that has all the facilities. And on this side of the road, there is a ghetto without any facility. But people have seen the kind of barbaric attack they had experienced. They must be totally terrorized into some kind of a submission. It's understandable. After all, the people want to save their lives. So that is not ideal peace. That's the peace of, say, a graveyard. That's the peace of crematorium. That's not a healthy peace. Why no, you don't have some dissenting voices in Gujarat who stand up from a community and they say you are wrong and you have done this and you have done... Maybe they are wrong. I'm not saying whatever they would say is right. But why this total absence of such voices? Because of the peace. I don't buy that.
When I asked you whether you were perturbed, concerned, disturbed that he makes speeches from Faizabad with the Ram Mandir and Lord Ram behind him, you said that's just tactics. Now,
That too was tactics. He had to win an election. He had to polarize Gujarat. That too was tactics.
but then why are you worried about
he
it?
Obviously, I mean, he has come from RSS. Anybody who has gone through RSS has to be communal to some degree. It is not possible not to be communal if we have gone through RSS. That is beyond possibility. It is like jumping in the pool and coming out dry. That's not possible. The same way, if you are in RSS, if you were brought up by Jamaat-e-Islami for that matter, you will be a communal person. So obviously there must be some degree of communalism there in politicians who do such things. But many times they do it, maybe it is compatible with their basic convictions also, for their political gain.
In a recent
Now for that political gain, the same person is making secular statements every day. If he is that honest with his communalism or whatever his convictions are, he should not say such things.
In other words, you're suggesting to me that Mr. Modi is a little Machiavellian.
Every politician is. Every politician.
He says what is needed to win votes.
Now again, why
He
only blame him?
He postures.
Most of the politicians, rarely I have seen or read about a politician who doesn't posture.
In a recent interview to IANS, Mr. Modi was asked if he became Prime Minister how he would reassure the apprehensions and fears of India's minorities and India's Muslims in particular. And this is what he said: "We are committed to provide a government where nobody needs to be apprehensive or fearful. We are committed to go the extra mile to ensure that not only are we fair and just, but that we are also perceived to be fair and just." Do you find those reassuring, or do you find them just tactical words?
Now, okay, he has said it. I mean, there is no need to react so very quickly.
But do you think he means it? Will he act on it?
To some extent, he'll have to act on it. He won't have a choice. He'll have to. Power brings certain restrictions also. It gives you certain privilege, but it gives you certain responsibilities and conditions. If you are in power, it doesn't mean that you can do everything.
You really do believe that power will restrict, restrain and make sober Mr. Modi?
I have seen many politicians with different ideologies. When a secularist comes in power, he becomes slightly less secular, as a matter of fact. So I think if a communalist will come in power, common sense says that
you don't believe that Mr. Modi is different to the sort of politicians we've seen up to now? Because the reason I put it like that is that is something that worries artists, journalists, intellectuals, and many members of the minority community, particularly Muslims. You're taking a very different line. You're saying that their fears could be exaggerated. You're saying that what they fear is actually tactical. You're saying that power will restrain Mr. Modi. You don't share the anxieties. You don't share the apprehensions these people feel.
Honestly, I don't. Not because I don't understand what Mr. Modi is, but in spite of that, you see, however powerful he may be, he cannot be more powerful than India. He cannot be more powerful than the constitution of this country or the judiciary of this country, or the ultimate ethos, the ultimate demand of the democracy and the requirement. You have to fulfill it to some extent, maybe not completely.
Explain to me this great resilience of India that you anchor so much of your faith in. What is this great resilience that you think will triumph?
All right, so let's think of the worst scenario. Worst scenario. You tell me, what will he do? What can he do if he comes in power? What will he do? He will bring apartheid in India. He will take away voting rights from Muslims or Christians. What can he do? Certain biases, certain prejudices are there anyway. What will he do? What can he do? Tell me. I don't think that he's not a communist. Of course he's a communist. Anybody who is from RSS will be a communal person. But when he becomes the Prime Minister of India, all right, when you're in opposition or when you are just a CM, you can wax eloquent about the rest of India. But when you are the Prime Minister of India, what will you do? What can you do? You will put me in jail. What will you do? Nothing. Don't get scared of him.
Another aspect of Mr. Modi that worries people is what they call his leadership style. Some people see him as strong and decisive, others see him as authoritarian. How does Javed Akhtar view him?
You see, I think you should ask this question from anybody from BJP. Who is an important person? Obviously, the second line, third line people will be happy that he is coming or he can come in power, because through him they'll have a piggyback ride to power. But people who matter are marginalized. They are finished anyway.
You mean Sushma L.K. Advani,
All of them.
Murli Manohar Joshi?
Where are they? They are senior leaders. They have contributed to the power of this party.
But they've been swept aside, you're saying?
Of course, they are. Aren't they?
That's the point I'm picking up on. It's not just that people like them no longer matter. It's also the nature of the one-man government he's run in Gujarat. It's the way the BJP campaign has become actually a personality cult. Does all of that make you apprehensive of Mr. Modi as leader?
This is the journey. But when he reaches the destination, there is a wall. Now what more?
That wall is the resilience of India and the system of democracy.
And the system. Ultimately, what will you do?
What happens when a battering ram hits a wall? The wall could crumble.
Are you thinking that there is a possibility that this constitution will be suspended? Are you thinking that the courts will be dissolved? What? Nothing will happen. Nothing will happen. He will have to, anybody, I don't like to discuss individuals, but as a matter of fact, anybody who becomes the Prime Minister of India tomorrow, if an extremely red communist, the extreme communist, hardcore, he becomes the Prime Minister of India, what can he do? He will have to respect the system and he'll have to work within the system. He will not be able to turn India into China. The same way, Mr. Modi cannot turn India into Saudi Arabia, Hindu Saudi Arabia. He cannot.
What Mr. Modi has already done is to fracture and divide your own community in Bollywood. You've divided up into pro-Modi and anti-Modi factions. Do you view that as inevitable or unfortunate?
We are exceptional people. I'm very proud to belong to film industry. You see, at any given time, there were people in different parties. It's not the first time that some people are in this party or some people are backing that party.
But isn't the divide greater?
Okay, maybe the divide is greater, but when we are within film industry, when we are within a fraternity, we are one.
Are you still one?
We are totally one. As film people, somebody will go out, my friend Karan Thapar will go out, contest the election from somewhere, my another friend Gul Panag will go out, contest in the same constituency. But when they come back to film industry, as a matter of fact, you know one thing, Karan, you are giving him an opportunity to say something. When you watch a Hindi film again, however good or bad the film is, you look at the titles of the film carefully.
It's Hindu,
It
Muslim,
is India.
mixed all the way.
Every film's credit title is India.
I'm not suggesting that Mr.
And that
Modi's
is how
divide
we
will
are.
fracture professional relations, but has it affected personal relations in Bollywood?
No.
After all, we've seen on TV screens
Yeah.
differences between Anupam Kher, who is pro-Modi, and Mahesh Bhatt, who's anti-Modi, emerging. And they were clearly struggling to try and contain them, but they were apparent to all. Are you worried that the influence of Mr. Modi could be so divisive that your own community might gently, slowly, but steadily start to divide?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. You see, there have been people with different political ideologies. But when they are in films, and I'll tell you why. Not because we are saints. Why we are like that? There is a particular reason for it. When we go out of film industry, we have different ideologies, we clash, we give controversial statements, so on and so forth. When we come back to film industry, why every credit title represents real India. Why? I'll tell you why.
Because it suits your interest best of all.
Because we want our film to be successful. So every other consideration is secondary.
And that factor...
The day politician would wish India to be super hit, every other consideration will become secondary. Any person who is communal is not loyal to this idea of super hit India.
I'm going to come back to something that you said repeatedly, because it struck me as not just important, but it perhaps also is a message to those like yourself who are apprehensive of Mr. Modi, people from the artistic community, intellectual community, and in particular the minorities. You've repeatedly said that India's great strength is its resilience and the democratic system we have. And that eventually both of those will restrain anyone, be it a Mr. Modi or someone else. What you're really saying to people is, don't be apprehensive. Mr. Modi will, if he becomes Prime Minister, not endanger our lives in any way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No single politician, no political party, no political group can be more powerful than India itself.
What do you say to critics who say that it's easy for Javed Akhtar, who's middle class, rich, well connected, to be sanguine? It's much more difficult if you're poor and needy, uneducated, and you don't have contacts.
So what do they have that will be taken away from them?
You mean they have nothing to do, so why worry?
No, to tell me, you're saying that those poor people will be in great problem. What? What problem you envisage that they don't already have?
Modi won't add to them.
What? Just qualify it.
So the fears that many, and I'm going to deliberately say this, the fears that many Muslims have, you're saying, on reflection,
See,
if they think about it,
you are repeating this
real.
word Muslims a bit too often.
Because it's 50%.
I'll tell you what, let me tell you. As a matter of fact, I am not the right person to tell you about the Muslim
No,
mind.
I'm saying the fears that minorities
You should have called Mr. Mahmood Madani. Yeah.
No.
He is a good choice.
You're-
But as far as I am concerned, I feel confident because I feel Indian. And I don't have any such guilt or that consciousness that, oh God, I belong to this minority. I belong to my country and I am not scared of anyone. That's all. And I have total confidence in my system. I have total confidence in my constitution. And I know one thing, that maybe some people in some corner of the country can be dictators. India will not accept a dictator.
Javed Akhtar, a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.